Excerpts from Father Charles Coughlin's Money, Question and Answers. What should the citizens demand? That Congress resume the exercise of its sovereign power to coin money and regulate the value thereof, and of foreign coin, and that the exercise of the sovereign power be completely divorced from the proper banking functions, that the banks be privately owned and restricted to their legitimate functions, i.e. custodians and lenders of the United States legal tender. Why do we demand that Congress resume the exercise of its sovereign power? To restore the highest function of our government to those elected by the people. The social nature of man demands that the common denominator of all economic and social functions be exercised by society as a whole or by those delegated and mandated by organized society. What does sovereign power mean? By sovereign power, we mean a power belonging to all the people as a whole, without which the exercise of their national activities is impossible, and without which the supreme jurisdiction under God over the citizens of a nation is likewise impossible. Why do you say man is a social being? Because he was created by Almighty God to live with his fellow men. One man is a tailor, another a carpenter, another a fisherman, and so forth. One man cannot live without his fellow men. And each citizen contributes some economic good not only for himself, but for all citizens. The common denominator or medium of trade for all economic goods or services is that one thing called money, which belongs to no one individually, but to all citizens socially and collectively, insofar as it is coined and the volume regulated and put to use originally by the government. Why will Congress then be what was intended? The actual government of the United States. Because Congress, the legislative body created by the people, falls short of its ability to govern unless it possesses in itself this right to create and supply directly through its own proper appointees with specified duties the necessary medium of exchange to which no other function of government is superior. Why do you say that no other function of government is superior? Mayer M. Chell Rothschild said, "Permit me to issue and control the money of a nation, and I care not who makes its laws. Precisely if an individual or group of individuals control the issuance and regulation of money, the distribution system through which wealth is exchanged, it is possible for that individual or group of individuals to hamper trade, to constrict economic activity, and to control the wealth of the nation itself." Are self-chosen, non-elected private individuals, corporations, and groups now the de facto government of the United States? Yes. The Federal Reserve banks, private corporations whose entire stock is owned by private individuals, coin and regulate at least 95% of the money used in the United States for the personal gain of the stockholders. All the profits made by the activities of the Federal Reserve banks secure to the owners of these banks. Besides, inside advanced knowledge of policies and their ultimate results enable international bankers and international speculators to make enormous illicit profits, part of which they spend to protect their unmoral practices. Are the Federal Reserve banks identified with the international bankers? Yes, the international bankers or banks are listed chiefly under the heads of the Federal Reserve banks of the United States, the Bank of England, the Bank of France, the Reichsbank, the Bank of Italy, and the central banks in practically every nation of the world. All these banks are owned by private individuals, although they masquerade under titles which make them appear as if they were owned by the governments and peoples of these nations. How do international bankers operate for their own gain? These private bankers, owning, controlling, and exercising for their own profits the money of all nations referred to, shuttle the gold and silver together with international loans, international acceptances, and banknotes from country to country for the purpose of altering price levels to create gains for themselves and losses for the people. In this sense, their patriotism is translated by the word greed. Their country knows no boundaries, and their flag is colorless. Are the international bankers themselves unpatriotic and greedy men? While some individual men may be honorable, their policies are unsound and unmoral, and were conceived by persons by whom patriotism, democracy, justice, and charity are not understood. Has the local banker, with whom you possibly are acquainted, been responsible for these policies? In most cases, no. Unfortunately, he has often been denied any knowledge of the workings and the ultimate results of many policies dictated by a handful of international bankers. Consequently, he oftentimes has been their victim. How can the government of the United States be restored to honestly elected representatives of the people? By completely divorcing the power to create money from proper banking functions and restricting to Congress alone the exercise of the sovereign power to issue and control the volume of money. How can Congress resume the exercise of its constitutional mandate of the people to issue our money and control the volume thereof? By nullifying the National Bank Act of 1863. by nullifying the Federal Reserve Bank Act of 1913 and all intermediary and subsequent acts down to date, by enacting legislation in harmony with the Constitution of the United States which mandates Congress to coin money and regulate the value thereof and of foreign coins.